Kato, how hated the African American community more, OJ or Anthony Cumia?
Oh, that's kind of an inside joke.
Yeah, you don't even get that. Tigger, nice try.
No, but I actually read the news. Yeah.
Do you know Opie and Anthony?
Yeah.
Oh, you do? Okay, then.
Their show back in the day too.
Okay, so that's Anthony from Opie and Anthony, but OJ, the whole thing about OJ once, OJ was it was so funny because watching the documentary, it basically like he wanted white people to love him, because he knew that's where the money was. But as soon as he was found not guilty, white people kind of bailed on him, and then the black community embraced him. And then you could tell he was kind of like, oh, this is like you could tell he wasn't loving it, I mean, right. going to church and trying to act all spiritual and singing on Sunday at the black church. I mean, it was weird, right?
Yeah, I think he was trying to fit in somewhere. I really do.
Because they stood with him. They cheered when he was found not guilty. So I guess he felt like he owed it to them,
And by the way, I'm going to ask you guys, because you guys obviously do like sports, right? Football.
Yeah.
So what do you think of this now? And by the way, I think my opinion has always been he's guilty. There's no excuse for, the whole thing. It should be about the kids, with Justin and Sydney losing their mom. And, and then, I lost my father. It's never a hard thing, but I have no, that's the thing is that everybody lost focus of Ron and Nicole. And it's like I told you, she was this beacon of light. And her story, it's like, no one remembers that it's the OJ trial, but it's really Ron Goldman and Nicole's trial to, I'm not trying to get maudlin on you guys, but everybody forgot that because it was so sensationalized.
Right.
And it was about OJ, but
it became really about OJ and Mark Furman, it became that kind of fucking
two young people in the prime of their life. And like Fred Goldman's never going to see his son grow up. I met Kim during her podcast and she loves her brother. And it's like, it's really what that was all about. Now, here's the thing I get to with that football is I don't know why, I didn't even know OJ was sick or anything, but if there's one person that should have had his brain looked at, it's him.
Right.
With the CTE.
Right. Yes.
All that
no, they wanted.
I think he's a guilty person, but
didn't they want to, and then he refused?
No, I think so. I think I don't know what the estate lawyer with all the things going on. I kind of stay out of it.
I think the estate said they knew everybody wanted to study it, but the estate said OJ never wanted it to happen, which again was another dumb decision on OJ's part.
And I don't know if OJ, like I said, I was raised by a very Catholic family, so I have a belief in God, and I know that you have to have a penance, and I don't know if he had a penance on his deathbed or not, but I think a person really needs to do a penance and a search in their heart. So I wonder if he ever told anybody if he came clean or not. But
I can't believe he lied about having cancer.
Okay.
Singer. He lied about everything. Chad's a well-known liar. That's kind of part of the fun, Kato. Chad,
you guys are great.
In this world, Chad's well, he's not as big a liar as OJ, but he's well known for his lying abilities. Anyway, Kato's here, but he's not on screen, so I guess he's waiting for 4:30, setting his pooter up. I haven't seen him yet, but he's definitely backstage. His setup's there. He's there. I see him now. Wow, this is incredible. I'm nervous. I'm literally nervous.
Do you want to give him an intro, or how do you do it? You're the host.
No, I won't give him an intro. I'll just bring him up on the screen. I guess he's listening. Kato, wave if you're listening. All right, everybody. I've been watching I'll give him this intro. I was just watching the ES. My wife said I already watched it, but I was watching the ESPN OJ documentary. It's incredible. I guess it's 5 parts. It's long, but it's incredible. I highly recommend it. My wife's like, yeah, we watched it before. I'm like, I don't remember, because a lot of stuff I just don't remember. So I'm all about this right now. And Kato's a legend. Here he is, Kato Kaelin.
Hey everybody, how you doing, guys? What's up?
Can I call you Brian? I'm kidding.
What is going on?
I learned so much about you. Your name's Brian.
Brian Kato Kaelin. It's a Jeopardy question. Kind of impressed myself.
Okay, now I was watching the beginning of the Marsha. I don't want to say Marsha Clark. When you first got in the witness stand.
Yeah.
And it was so incredible. First of all, your hair was incredible. Did you what kind of product did you use? And did people approach you? Your hair was considering you're from, once I looked it up, you're from Milwaukee. I was like, that's because you had such a California surfer vibe with that hair. That hair is incredible. Like, they couldn't make a wig that luxurious. Like, it was mind fucking boggling. And she's asking you about, like, God, I'm blanking on everybody's name. OJ, what's OJ's wife's name?
Nicole. When
she lived on Gretna Green, she's asking you about the doors and the French doors. I was like, how he didn't design the building. What the fuck why is she asking you shit? Right. Everybody already knows how many doors to the back. And then you're like, and there's 2 doors to the side, and there's 2 French doors to the back and to the pool and to the back thing. I mean, it's so
plantation shutters. We have some room over here. It's like real estate. She's setting me up to.
No, it's like you designed a building or you burn it down or something. I was like, what's her fucking problem? And now she was like the original Karen. You know what I mean? Now I know why the jury didn't like her. She was the original Karen. She was so annoying. She'd ask the most annoying questions.
I didn't know all the stuff you're saying. I didn't know until I saw, the backstory of how the juries, they test how you test. She flunked the test. I heard that no one liked her. But I got to show you something because you just brought something up. I think you'll love it. It's right behind me. I'll have to get off camera for a second.
All right.
But this is brilliant.
All right. No, I mean, it's Marsha Clark. I'm literally forgetting everybody's name. What's OJ's wife's name again?
Nicole Brown Simpson.
Yeah, Nicole. And OJ and Al Cowlings. Al Cowlings was a fucking weird dude. He was like the original fence sitter of all time.
So you were mentioning the hair and all that stuff that you couldn't even do a wig about it. And it's so funny because back in the day I thought it was one of the coolest commercials ever where they had 1,000 Katos. And this is the mask they made of me. So I was like wearing these things for at that time it was called ask.com. And there are all these dancers out here. So they gave me the original look of this thing. And we all wore it. It was like that Tom Cruise movie.
Yeah, but see, that's my point. They can't recreate how incredible your hair was. Like they even they have professionals doing it, and that's not even close. Your hair was the first thing I noticed. Like I remember the trial and everything, but like when I was watching it last night, I'm like, that hair is amazing. So did anyone ask you like what kind of product you used?
All the time, because I was compared. They always said back in the day when magazines were popular, like People magazine, where who wore it better sort of thing. It always compared me to Jennifer Aniston's hair because she had the Friends hair. But
but your hair was better because it was longer and thicker and just it waved off your head. It was incredible. I was stunned.
Redken product, Redken Rewind #5. Still use it today.
Wow. Okay, so I'm not going to go in any order, but
yeah, that's fine.
But so when OJ's house became a crime scene, what happened to you? Like immediately, right?
Yeah, I was out pretty much immediately. What I did is people would come over to the house at that time and bring over food. And it was sort of everybody on OJ's side. And then at one point, I mentioned on my podcast, he brought me the first day he said, well, Kato, he brought me in the kitchen. He goes, you remember that we ate here our dinner. And then at that point I said, no, we didn't. And he was really setting me up, I think, for it to lie. And I'll never forget that. And that day, I tried to find a place to live, and I packed up and got my stuff. I had two of my buddies also from Milwaukee who moved to LA, and we got up and I loaded up a truck and moved to Beverly, sort of thing. And I got out of there pretty much immediately. But he had people over there from the Jackson 5, but the Michael wasn't there, but the whole gang, lots of football players, and it was everybody in support at that time of OJ.
And that was before the white Bronco ride, right?
Oh yeah. This is before. This is
So as soon as you got a sense that he wanted you to lie, you're like, I got to get the fuck out of here.
Well, he pulled me in. It was a big, many people there, and he pulled me in from the like the living room area into the kitchen to talk to me. And he said, "Kato, you remember that I was eating here at the McDonald's with you?" And I said, "No, you never came into the house." So, and I want you guys.
Did you say that to him, or did you say it to him, or you just thought it?
No, I said no, I didn't. And then he kind of shook it. I went back. I had to get away, so I walked out of that area, and then I walked back to my guest house. And the thing is, you guys, I used to run and play basketball. I was a nut. I mean, honestly, 14 miles a day. So that night of when the murders happened, he came to my door and see if I could break $100 bill. I couldn't. I just said no. And I asked where he's going. He's going to get something to eat. I never knew nothing, McDonald's, anything. And I invited myself. I went, "Oh God, I'm starving. Can I go?" And he just paused, and I could feel it's like, oh geez, I overstepped my boundaries. I mean, that's OJ Simpson. I'm this wannabe actor guy, and I'm inviting myself. And it was such an uncomfortable pause. And then he said, "Oh yeah, sure." So he drove around. I didn't have any idea where we're going, but it ended up being McDonald's, where he in one bite ate the entire thing. And I didn't want to eat my food in the Bentley out of respect of.
Oh, he was eating while I was driving back?
Yeah. And then I went towards his house. He never left his car. It's about 25 yards away. And I looked and I was like, oh geez, he wants me to get out of his way. And
he never got out of his car.
He got out of the car, but only to where the door was. He stood up. He watched me walk towards his house, and I looked like he's not coming in. So I went, and I have my own. I have to go all the way around to go to my the guest house.
Where was the white Bronco parked? Where was that at?
God, you know what? I think it might have been in the driveway at the time. So yeah, because his daughter Ornell had a Saab, and my car was always on the street. Which my car was the old 300 ZX by Nissan. And a funny thing about this, because the detectives told me the story later, I used to carry, I swear to God, I'm not making this up. I used to carry a mannequin head. So I'd lay it in the back seat and I'd carpool in LA because I had a job where I had to go. And I really did that. And so in hindsight now, the detectives are checking out that day and they see a head in the back. And they're going, what the hell is this? I found this out from Detective Lang and Vanetta later on. And they were going, why the hell do you have a mannequin's head? I said, you guys want to arrest me, right? It was for carpool lane. And I still have that mannequin head. But that was it. But I was always parked outside of the street.
Oh, he wouldn't let you park on the premises?
No, there was a gate code and all that. So I didn't buy. And by the way, I didn't want to. I'd rather have been on the street.
Also, I just learned from watching last night that you were supposed to move in with Nicole when she was moving from Gretna Green to Bundy. You were supposed to move with Nicole, and then OJ grabbed you basically that day and said, "Move in with me instead." Well,
actually, it was this way that the kids were Sydney and Justin. They adored me. I'm not being big-headed about this, but they loved me. I was always great to be around, a lot of fun. And the big thing was, guys, that in Brentwood, very, very wealthy people, and they found someone in me that they could trust with kids. And, I was never the babysitter, but I could always, if they wanted help with homework, if Nicole needed me to pick up the kids, if I was available, I would do it. I was working a casting business in the meantime, where my hours would be on sets sometimes till 4 a.m. And when I lived on Gretna Green, I'd have my guest house in back, and the kids would go to school in the morning. Nicole would have Kris Kardashian and her other set of friends, and every morning they would go running at like 7 a.m., then take the kids to school. But I remember times where the kids were Kim, Khloe, Kourtney Kardashian, and Sydney. Justin would be jumping on my bed, waking up Kato. And I think it was out of love sort of thing that they bought a dog called Kato. They named the Akita Kato. So we had two Katos running around. But back to your story, Nicole wanted me to go into Bundy, but it wasn't a guest house. I was against moving into the same house. I didn't think it was right. And I went on my own search for a place to live afterward. Then OJ said, until you find a place, you can live in a bungalow. And that's the story.
Okay, because no, I was watching a trial, and Marcia Clark basically said the way the timeline through the trial made it seem like you were going to move that day into Bundy, and she asked you the setup. It wasn't a separate house like Gretna Green, so it did seem kind of uncomfortable for you to be living in the same house. So
yeah, I said no. I said no to that, and
so it wasn't OJ's idea, because it seemed like from the trial, it seemed like OJ was like, "Hey, I don't want you. I want to be banging Nicole, and I don't want you hearing me. I don't want you knowing me coming and going."
Yeah, they went off and on dating. So, but definitely at some point when I lived at Gretna Green, I find out later in this life that he had private eyes investigate who this Kato guy was. And I guess I passed all the whatever testing they had to do with me without me knowing that I had no romance with Nicole. The kids would always want to make sure that Kato was invited to anything if I was around. So I think it was sort of that litmus test of Kato's all right.
Kato, you're a big NFL guy, a big Green Bay Packers guy. Now, were you like starstruck when you met OJ for the first time? Like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm hanging around this guy? Or
it was not so much starstruck. It was like sort of like respect, like, oh my God, OJ Simpson, the running back. I'm living on his property, and it wasn't this obsequious guy that I bow to everything you do, but I was definitely like, oh, this is kind of cool. I didn't see OJ a lot when I lived at his property in Rockingham because he was doing NBC, the Notre Dame games, NFL, and he was on the board of 12 different companies. So I would say in 6.5 months, maybe 10 times or so, maybe a few more, but never like hanging out. I always compare it to that. I had my own set of friends. OJ was sort of like in the tax bracket of Danish, and I was always donuts. So I wasn't my set of friends were different. At that time, I was hanging out with Bruce Jenner, who now is Caitlyn. And when Caitlyn did the tweet about good riddance, they were friends at one time. And I had gone to Bruce and Chris's house and played volleyball and had cookouts when I was at the living on Gretna Green and OJ's Rockingham a few times. And they seemed like everybody was friends, but I guess not.
Mm-hmm. So when you lived behind OJ, you weren't he had housekeepers and stuff. He wasn't using you to like keep an eye on the house, right?
Yeah, no, he had a woman that would live in there and sometimes and leave on weekends. Yeah, he had a housekeeper she had her own room where she was on and off there, but she was there every day working.
And here's another dumb question. The Nicole, it seemed like Marcia Clark wanted to get to the bottom of whether or not you and Nicole were ever romantic together. Yeah. And whenever she asked you, it was like maybe it's just the camera, whatever. I mean, maybe the court camera, whatever. But it seemed like you always like paused. Like she was like, "Do you have any romantic involvement?" And you're like, "No." It always seemed like a slight delay. And again, you might have been nervous, but like you guys had nothing, right?
Yeah. Well, Kevin.
And one more thing, she, we've seen a lot of pictures of her, good and bad, but she was really stunning, good looking, right?
Oh yeah, she was. You know what? I always said that as far as a mom, if you had a picture like in a Walmart for a picture frame, it would be that family with Nicole as the mom. She was just honestly, she was this beacon of light. I always said this: the best energy. She just like shine brightness everywhere. I had absolutely no involvement, and I would go into Marcia Clark's office. You guys got to remember, I met with the defense and the prosecution. Many times that people would said like, "Oh, he looks like he's lying," and I had that deer in the headlight look. It's honest to God, it's because I had so many hours of questions that I would think in my head, I don't remember that question, and so you don't realize you're on camera, and it makes you look like you're thinking of an answer, but you're thinking of how you want to make sure you answer 100% honest. And so I was going, and I understand completely how people could think that, but it's the furthest thing from the truth because I was trying to always answer everything correctly.
And also you did a couple of days, right?
I did 6 day, 6.5. Yeah.
Okay, so like the jury is sequestered, but you're not. So you go to the trial, and then you can go home and watch the news, and it's like you're the biggest thing that. Yeah, I mean the OJ trial was the biggest trial of the last 100 years. At least
I was sequestered. I was.
You were?
I obeyed it. I obeyed it until.
So you couldn't watch TV?
I didn't watch. I watched stuff later when I wasn't on stand or off, sequestered. But I rarely watched. But the only thing that I would get is my mom. She's passed away, but at that time, she would be bawling in that. So that was the toughest part, where she would say, "Why did they say these things about you on like hard copy current affair?" I go, "Mom."
Oh yeah, I forgot about those shows.
I would be tipped off by a publicist or something saying they're going to do a really bad hit piece. And I was like, oh my God.
Okay, so my question is, when you were on the 6.5 days, you didn't know what the reaction was to you during it.
I didn't watch during my testifying. I did not watch.
You weren't allowed to watch, or you just didn't?
I think when by the way, that's the first time ever in a courtroom in my life, not even parking tickets. So when Ito said you're sequestered, I would like, oh, okay, I'm not going to listen. But I would hear from the lawyer or my friends that would constantly call me, and they would tell me stuff, and I would say, "Hey, you guys, I'm sequestered," and they would say, "Hey, this is being said about you," and you guys in the comedy world, and I used to, I knew tons of comics at that time. I was hanging out also with, you guys remember Mike Reynolds?
Mike Reynolds, yes,
Mike,
of course.
He just passed away. Mike was a good friend. So it was Mike Reynolds, Colin Quinn, and Sarah Silverman all lived by the complex that I was at. So I did a lot of hanging out with them, and I guess do jokes. Nothing trial jokes, nothing murder. That's not funny.
How'd you become friends with comics?
Well, I came out to LA. Actually, I had a TV show in Wisconsin, so my whole life was to go down to the Comedy Store and to do these places. But obviously, during the trial where I became this, people wanted to meet, and I worked out at a gym called the Boulevard, and everybody worked out there. It was connected to New Line Cinema, and so after I moved out of OJ's, I lived nearby there on a street called Clark, and I'd walk to the health club, and it was Jerry Seinfeld, and that's when he was with Shoshana Lowenstein, and Sarah would be there, Silverman, and it was sort of like everybody went to this gym, and I sort of became friends with them. And Mike Reynolds was a trainer, so
yeah, he became a trainer. Yeah,
Mike and I became pretty close as far as friends, and Colin was his good friend, Colin Quinn.
Right.
And then when I did one of the first things I did was everybody wanted me to be out on a show, and I mean, really incredible shows. And at that time, Bill Maher had Comedy Central, Politically Incorrect. And I said, that's the one I want to do, because I want people to know that I'm about light and fun. And it worked out really well. That's where Gary Shandling made fun, but I had some comebacks. And that was
you had in the court thing, you got a huge laugh when Marsha Clark was basically implying that you want to live with OJ because it would help your career,
Yeah.
And then you said we're not up for the same parts, me and OJ.
Right.
And it got a gigantic laugh. I think one of the reasons why I watched the clip was because they said Kato Kaelin is hilarious in court or something. And then and there weren't a lot of laughs in court, but that was like a huge laugh.
You know what? That when I was just being me, and all the questions that they would ask is how I would answer a question, not trying to be funny, but it got a laugh. Like, did OJ seem excited to see you to go to McDonald's? And I said, well, wouldn't you? It was that stuff, but it just came out.
Right. And plus with the combination with the beautiful hair. I mean, people are like, this guy's got it all. So Chad, go ahead and tell Kato about Sarah Silverman.
Oh yeah. Kevin, our host here, his podcast, Kevin's been doing comedy for a long time, but interesting fun fact, according to Wikipedia and Sarah Silverman's book, Sarah lost her virginity to Kevin.
I love it.
Yeah, she was an open micer. I was running an open mic, and yeah, it's all true because she said in her book, and yeah, she was like, we had sex. Well, it wasn't memorable or anything, and then there was blood on the sheets, and
yours.
Yeah, it was my bed. Well, yeah, and then
there was a glove.
No, I said, was it your blood?
Oh yeah, that's what she said. I go, Sarah, I see blood on the sheets. I go, Sarah, you're a virgin. She goes, no, maybe you are. I'm like, oh, that's not what happens when men lose their virginity, unless they're gay, which is fine.
Was it? By the way, is that in New York where it happened?
Yeah, NYU. She was going to NYU.
Yeah, that was the crime scene, Cato.
That was
Boston.
Was there like was there tape? Do not go past this bed.
Yeah, Van Natter showed up. all these fucking.
That's really funny. So
no, all these guys, all these fucking detectives are still so famous. Lang and Van Natter and fucking racist guy.
Van Natter's dead. But,
he is?
Yeah. You know what's funny is there's sort of like the Deadpool game of who's dying in that. But it was Van Natter died. Johnny Cochran died. Another one of the lawyers died. I can't think of his name.
Is Shapiro still alive?
I think, yeah, Shapiro's done, but his son died during the trial or after.
Why was I saw the clip of he talked to, I guess, Barbara Walters or somebody right after the trial, and he was disgusted with the rest of the team. Like he said, Shapiro we said he would never work with F. Lee Bailey again, and
he's dead too, F. Lee Bailey.
But why was Shapiro so mad? Just because they used the race card?
Well, you know what? It could be, but I was a prosecution witness, but I did go in and interview with Shapiro a few times, but that was not a thing that we didn't talk about his team. He just asked me questions. So I didn't know what was going on with their team, but you could see it was 100% when I was 6.5 days, you could see that there was nothing but egos in the courtroom. And I mean, there were egos mostly from the defense lawyers.
Right.
And another thing is, I'm on call, so I'm down at the courthouse a lot because you don't know. It's like, we're going to have you today, but they don't have you that day. And I just remember I sat in a room. It was a closet, basically. No windows, no air conditioning, nothing. It was just this closet, and you wait for your turn like, okay, you're up. And then, oh, no, you're not. There's a sidebar. And so it was like at least a week to 10 days of being down there going, what am I going? So it sort of added to the anticipation of, God, I want to get this out of the way and just do my civic duty.
How many eyes were watching at one time on that trial? Because there was no social media. It was nothing. So
like 100 million, they said.
Oh yeah. It's all these stats that come out. It surpassed the Super Bowl of certain days. But they said that that when I testified that the record for pizza sold is at an all-time high. So,
wow.
It was like, people thought it was a soap opera basically because it was during soap opera hours.
Right.
And really, people saw me as this character, not as a real person. And even, it's going to be 30 years. And even to this day, everything's, I'm from Wisconsin. And sort of, I always said, don't worry, the cream rises to the top. So I'd say 98%, it's really great, but there's 2% of haters. I mean, on my podcast, we have 1 million views on the last 2 shows. We have Lang with like 400,000. And the comments are so positive, except there's 2 or 3 that just want me dead or, no one cares about you, Cato. And I'm like, I don't know these people, but I grew up with 6 in our family. My mom and dad, super close, always kissing, very Catholic family. So I never saw hate. So when people started hating me, it was such a new thing. I was like, oh my God, what did I do? And it was hard to cope with.
Plug your podcast because I just listened to the one with Detective Tom Lang. It was really good.
Oh yeah, that's he's in all the stuff. So Chad, you listen. The stuff that Lang, all the evidence dismissed. It's like, are you kidding me? I mean, they have a story where it's corroborated with the limo driver, where there was this bag that I tried to that when he's going to the airport, I was going to get. He goes, no, don't touch that. So it was like I was close to it, and OJ ran like 20 yards to get it. So someone saw this guy was behind the limo. He saw OJ taking stuff out of the bag, throwing into the garbage. So allegedly
at the airport
on his
they didn't use this guy. They didn't. It's like, and everybody's
wait, Cato, at the airport or on his property?
Airport.
Wow. That's a great way to. It's a great place to throw stuff out. Right when you get out of your car, there's usually big trash cans there. You throw. They'll never put 2 and 2 together. The guy probably cleans it out every 3 hours, and who knows where it ends up.
Well, that's it. But it's corroborated with the limo driver and the guy that was parked behind that because the guy was a fan. It's like, oh, there's OJ. So Lang interviewed this guy. And he says it,
especially when you see OJ at the airport from all the Hertz commercials. You're like, run, OJ, run.
Yeah, I know.
Go, OJ, go.
It's so true that, but that story itself, it's like, there's the answer.
But then they checked the trash cans in Chicago, but not L.A.
Yeah, well, they did the landfills they wanted to do. I think they went to a landfill and they said they couldn't find it. So yeah, in that episode, Lang explains it, and it's fascinating because nobody knew that story, and everybody. That was one of the big in my testimony was where's that bag? And I always describe the bag the same way. And it's exactly how the limo driver and that guy who was parked behind the limo described the bag. That I said, yeah, it was like a knapsack, college knapsack where people would have it. And so that was never found. That also might have been disposed. I think he did probably separate garbage bins.
Also in that episode, Lang said he purchases a disguise and you guys have the receipts for it. Like I think weeks before. Yeah,
he had a disguise, mustache, the whole whatever.
Okay, but I don't want to go over the whole thing, but from no. I just have one that from 9:36 until OJ left. What were you doing?
So I took my food from the McDonald's and went to my room and ate it, and it's so I called a buddy of mine up, another Wisconsin buddy of mine. He happened to be a lawyer, a DA in San Diego, who's still one of my best friends. And I was being kind of cocky, like, oh, I just had dinner with OJ. This is all before, I'm acting like, oh, yeah, I just had dinner. What are you doing? And then at this, I called up a girl that I wasn't a girlfriend, but we were friends. And I called her and asked her what she was doing to the night. And
when you're doing something big, you always call people to see what they're doing so you can just top them.
Yeah. So
what'd you do today? Nothing. Oh, I just went to McDonald's with OJ. Now I think he's gonna kill somebody.
Yeah. No, oh God. No, I didn't know that, but it was a strange night. I just remember.
So the hour and a so OJ left around 11 and the 9:36 you got back from McDonald's. So the hour and a half, hour and whatever time, hour plus was uneventful for you. You don't remember anything.
Well, yeah, I'm in my room. I'm pretty much on the phone, probably talking to people the entire time. And but the important thing was at some point, the back of my wall, I don't have a window. I just have a wall. So the back of it, I heard this noise, and the picture frame moved. And so I was talking to my friend, her name's Rachel. I said, "Did we just have an earthquake?" And she goes, "No." I go, "Oh, geez, my picture moved." So the picture frame actually moved enough, and that was I describe it as the thumping, the pounding, but it was loud and powerful enough to move the frame inside my house. And in the meantime, my house is a bungalow, not connected to the house. I'm hearing this constant ringing, and the ringing, I think, is the intercom to let the limo driver in. And so while that's going on, I'm going, well, why is the phone in his house ringing and this ringing, and it's going on and on? Because I knew he was going to Chicago. And then at one point it was so much of the ringing went on. I went out there and met the Allen Park, the limo driver. And I asked him, "Hey, did we have an earthquake?"
So what was the pounding?
So I think, once again, my opinion is that there's a crawl space sort of behind the wall. It goes throughout the entire, from the end of the house to the main house. And I think there's a fence to the neighbors. So they came up with a thing that OJ climbed the fence and knocked into the air conditioning unit. And that's where they found the one glove. So when the cops came to my room that morning at 5 a.m. or so, I said, "I don't know if this is important, but I heard this noise." And that they found that one bloody glove, which became the most famous glove, because if the glove
firm implanted.
Yeah, that's what they said. No, if the glove don't fit, sort of, you must have quit. And that became the biggest meme. And the trial sort of became this, once again, like a TV show.
Yeah, but so OJ did that because he didn't want to come on through the gate, because then it would show a timeline.
Well, once again, this is just all like theory, that he had to come a certain way because the limo driver was out front already.
Yeah.
So he couldn't be seen, I think. So he had to figure out how he could sneak in, I think. And he had
but also he loses his alibi if he comes in through the gate, because then they would probably have some record. Oh, I guess back then they didn't have any ring cameras or nothing, but you still think with a if he had to let himself in, they would still be some kind of record of him coming and going.
Yeah, I also think so. And I think part of his questioning was, "Where were you?" And he always said he was in the house packing, and that would ruin it also.
Right. And one more question about, you don't even have to answer, but then after the thing was found not guilty, I like it when I was watching the documentary, everybody was like, OJ's innocent. He wasn't innocent. He was found not guilty, which is, it wasn't like they said, no, he definitely didn't do it. No, they just didn't prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. So he was not innocent. He was found not guilty.
Exactly. And, it's when the Rodney King happened 2 years before that, I think the worst thing that could happen, especially in California, LA, is they did the split screens all over America of black and white. And we went so far back, and you guys are in New York, I think, but
yeah,
and I think that
was crazy that they showed it, and that they had cameras on like black college students, and then the reaction.
No, they did reaction. I remember they had cameras all over the country,
right?
With the split, and they just went somber with the I guess white, and
the white people were like, oh my god,
yeah.
And the black kids are cheering like they won the fucking game. It's
right.
It was insane.
I think that's where twerking started. But it really was amazing. So we went so far back, and I think we're even because of that. And I guess bringing up the George Floyd whole thing. LA is just. I live in a cool area, but I've seen people defecating, peeing, and it's like, are you kidding me? Twice I've been to a CVS and a Rite Aid store where I've seen people shop, just taking stuff, and I want to chase them. I get so frustrated. I can't believe this is happening. Honestly, it's become a really bad place to live.
Yeah, all the cities are. Hey, so anyway, so then after that, I guess my question was, after that, then one of the big National Enquirer, one of those papers implied that you did it. You sued them. The first court, the California court said no. And then another court stepped in and said they did libel you, whatever the word is. It is libelous what they did. Then you settled out of court, and you don't have to say how much it was, but it wasn't. You were trying to get 15 million or something. It was a significant number that you got.
Well, I'll tell you something I can't even talk about, but that case itself. That case is in every law book,
right?
And Clint Eastwood used that to win a case. So I don't know the exact law because I've done where I've met professors in law and all that, and they say they use the Kaelin law. So I thought, it's kind of cool.
Yeah, because what they did on the cover, they basically implied you did it, and then in the story, I guess.
You can't. The cover has to. It doesn't have anything to do with the story, I believe.
Yeah, but still, they said just even if you kind of rectified the story in the article, you can't lie in a cover, and that was how it was supposed to be interpreted, I guess. So yeah, I thought that was all very interesting. Like the fact that then they said you did it, which is like, and again, at that point, everybody's like, huh? I mean, the fact that he was found not guilty and OJ's he's gonna spend the rest of his days looking for the murderer, and then it was Kato all along. It was like, what?
You know what? That was where tabloids and the tabloid shows were kind of the social media, and
right.
It was constant stories that would come out, and it just obviously we find out everything's for ratings, but yeah, it was the tabloid stories themselves were the toughest on my family. So I always would tell Mom, I go, geez, don't go to the store this week or whatever else. So that was the pain that she went through made mine was bearable. It was for her that I was like, oh God, why they?
And when you were out in public, would women just like literally throw themselves at you?
Well, my wife's right over here, so no, they.
Well, she must have heard the stories.
Yeah, no, I did no trouble. I was sort of a single guy.
Like for instance,
I'll tell you what, Kevin. Honestly, the truth is, I was really cautious because I knew that something terrible could happen with someone with lawsuits and all that. So I lived very clean. Really.
Yeah, but if you walked into a bar like in Santa Monica, would people just lose their fucking mind?
It was more on the road. I did a lot of events like going to the Kentucky Derby where people were just, I would have to have police protection at that time. I'll never forget the story. I'm at the Kentucky Derby and at that time, every A-list person, and Geraldo was there, that he hated me. And
why did he hate you?
Well, we became friends later because of all the stories that you would see.
Right.
And people, repetition makes people believe things that just aren't true.
Don't I know it, Melton?
But I had these stories of people that couldn't believe I was there. I was invited as a guest to do a charity. I did this thing for all these kids, but I'll never forget. It got so almost like a riot that these guys picked me up, like 15 cops picked me up in the air and escort in a good way, were trying to protect me. My feet were off the ground and they led me to another spot. But it was like these stories were pretty amazing what went on. Wow. But I'll tell you a really kind of funny story. You guys are in the comedy that I recently got married, and I got married at David Zucker's house. David did Airplane.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And David, anybody from Wisconsin, you kind of stay connected in the business because everybody knows you're kind of family, you're a cheesehead, and he's a huge Packer fan. So David said, when you get married, I'm going to let you use my place. We'll get married on my backyard lawn. It's a beautiful home. He's in Brentwood. So we get married. He walks my wife down the backyard. We're all friends. And so I did my speech thanking him for the use of his house. He didn't charge me. And I said, I really want to thank you for not inviting Nordberg. So it was great.
That's funny.
OJ played Nordberg. So
wait, so did you? So because of this, like, did you met Zucker through OJ or just after you became famous?
No, I knew the Zucker family from Wisconsin. I didn't hang out with David, but I knew him through mutual friends.
Oh.
But when I became famous, it was easier to do. I went to a high school that was he's older, but David's high school was next to our high school, and he had his Airplane premiere, Naked Guns. Always he has it at the Fox Bay Theater in Wisconsin. So in passing, I have met David, and I went to high school with Richard Lovett, was his manager at the time. And Richard and Steve, Richard ran CAA. So I was always connected to all these people. I used to go to premieres all the time. And when I went to premieres before the trial, I was Kato. But when I was famous, I was, there's that Kato guy capitalizing in this. But I went to premieres my entire life. I've had my SAG card over 40 years.
Right.
And I actually read for a film the week before the murders happened that my friend was Aaron Meyerson at New Line. He gave me a script and says, "You got to read this. This is the funniest script." This is a buddy of mine that I hung out with, and we would, go out to clubs and bars and just laugh our asses off. And he said, it was kind of fun to be around. So he gave me a script. I read it. I went in to test for one part, another part, but the murders happened. Then I got on TV and I was like Kato the character. Everything stopped. But that was Dumb and Dumber. And that was Daniel's hair was the Kato hair.
Oh, wow.
So it's really interesting life of I got that script around here somewhere, but Aaron was at New Line, then MTV, and still friends to this day.
I just can't imagine. I just can't imagine
it's like a Forrest Gump life.
I mean, wow.
Yeah, that and Zelig. And if I ever do anything, the people that I've met, and you guys in the comedy world, you meet everybody, but the stories are just amazing. It's like, why do certain people gravitate towards me? I got a phone call from a publicist, and my publicist said, "This guy wants to meet you. He's mixing the Christmas album of Celine Dion, and he said he wants to meet you." And it was Phil Spector. And
wow.
So I met Phil Spector. He immediately made sure I sat next to him for I'm not making this up. Be like, your energy, I wanted to hear for this. So I sat next to him. He wouldn't let me leave to pee. I'm there for 16 hours. And he had all these, at that time, I remember Danny DeVito, Penny Marshall was there, Brian Wilson from the, you guys remember, these are like A-list at that time in the 90s. Yeah. So, and then Tom Cruise bought the rights a long time ago to the Phil Spector story, but he never did it because there was no ending. Now there's an ending. So when that trial happened,
Phil Spector, didn't he kill his?
Yeah. So I said, I said, no way, please don't get me involved in this trial. So I kept thinking, I'm like this guy that should be a cardboard cutout for like CI.
Right.
What's that called? The show all the CSI shows.
CSI, yeah. It's like
cardboard cutout. There's Kato at a crime scene. It's
when Robert Blake killed his wife, you were at the restaurant.
No, I met, and Robert Blake gravitated at the Playboy Mansion, and Robert Blake would always talk to me.
He was.
So it's that's one guy you don't want to get a ride from and ride shotgun.
That's
So anyway,
that's a fact. Wait,
Yeah.
no, it's so funny. You've
Isn't that
interacted with all
bizarre?
these guys that kill their wives.
it's bizarre. That's why I not.
Okay, so how do you not write a book now that OJ is all back in the news again?
Well, you know what? I've kept notes my entire life, but I think I honestly I did this podcast with a gentleman named you guys know Sean Avery.
Yeah, the hockey player.
Hockey player, great guy, great podcast. So he interviewed me much like you guys are doing. And if you know him, he just said, dude, you've got to get like someone in to do your side of the story of like a Tarantino or something, because I really, I lived on both sides, and mine's not the same as the Ryan Murphy show. Mine's not the same as any other like thing what was written about the trial. And I was thinking, there's really a side of the celebrity, and I don't know exactly what it is, but my feelings and the voiceover would just really paint a different story of it's got to be some creative director, like the guy.
Yeah,
who
but
did that.
it doesn't even have to
Tanya
be
Harding,
like
Tanya.
it doesn't even have to be like a Tarantino thing where he embellishes like with that Once Upon a Time and whatever. Like I didn't like that because he was making up stuff. Like, well, your life, you don't even have to make up stuff. It's so compelling, you know.
No, yeah, you don't have to. You really don't. And that's just kind of touching on the surface, because while I'm talking to you guys, your mind, you're motivating me to think, oh yeah, that happened. So much stuff is that happened in that. I guess you can kind of call it the invisible Hollywood of people that want to get into that. Where's that party? Where that person's at? And at one time I was invited into that sort of invisible Hollywood.
Right.
I really like where I'm at much more here.
Like the Johnny Depp, River Phoenix hangout, the Hollywood clubs.
Yeah, to get in the beyond the velvet rope sort of thing.
Right. And Chad can't get anywhere cool.
I know.
Yeah. Oh, you guys, you hang with me.
Yeah, I'd love to.
You guys got a Costco card? We're there.
I'd love to.
But even make it weirder, like Jeffrey Dahmer did all his killings in Wisconsin at Milwaukee, and then you got Stephen Avery. Like, so you're connected to all this weird stuff in a weird way.
Oh yeah, it's true. Dahmer. I remember when I was in high school, we know everybody goes back to see where they tore it down. But
Dahmer,
I didn't know Dahmer. No.
That'd be incredible.
He lived in his guest house.
Yeah, Dahmer. Dahmer. What's that smell, Jeff? Anyways,
what is that smell?
Yeah,
we gotta read. I gotta read
off the table, Jeff. No,
I gotta read some super chats because people got a lot of things to say. Hey, everybody, I'm not reading $2 super chats. I'll come back and read them at the end, but I can't. There's too many, so I can't read $2 ones. Kato, how hated the African American community more, OJ or Anthony Cumia?
Oh, that's kind of an inside joke.
Yeah, you don't even get that. Tigger, nice try.
No, but I actually read the news. Yeah.
Do you know Opie and Anthony?
Yeah.
Oh, you do? Okay, then
their show back in the day too.
Okay, so that's Anthony from Opie and Anthony, but OJ, the whole thing about OJ once. OJ was it was so funny because watching the documentary, it basically like he wanted white people to love him, because he knew that's where the money was. But as soon as he was found not guilty, white people kind of bailed on him, and then the black community embraced him. And then you could tell he was kind of like, oh, this is like you could tell he wasn't loving it, right. Going to church and trying to act all spiritual and singing on Sunday at the black church. I mean, it was weird, right?
Yeah, I think he was trying to fit in somewhere. I really do.
Because they stood with him. They cheered when he was found not guilty. So I guess he felt like he owed it to them,
And by the way, I'm going to ask you guys, because you guys obviously do like sports, right? Football.
Yeah.
So what do you think of this now? And by the way, I think my opinion has always been he's guilty. There's no excuse for, the whole thing. It should be about about the kids, with Justin and Sydney losing their mom. And, and then I lost my father. It's never a hard thing, but I have no, that's the thing, is that everybody lost focus of Ron and Nicole. And it's like I told you, she was this beacon of light. And her story, it's like, no one remembers that it's the OJ trial, but it's really Ron Goldman and Nicole's trial to I'm not trying to get maudlin on you guys, but everybody forgot that because it was so sensationalized.
Right.
And it was about OJ, but
it became really about OJ and Mark Furman. It became that kind of fucking polarizing.
Two young people in the prime of their life, and like Fred Goldman's never going to see his son grow up. I met Kim during her podcast, and she loves her brother, and it's really what that was all about. Now, here's the thing I was going to get to with that football is I don't know why I didn't even know OJ was sick or anything, but if there's one person that should have had his brain looked at, it's him.
Right.
With the CTE.
Right. Yes,
all that
no, they wanted.
I think he's a guilty person, but
didn't they want to, and then he refused?
No, I think so. I think I don't know what the estate lawyer with all the things going on. I kind of stay out of it.
I think the estate said they knew everybody wanted to study it, but the estate said OJ never wanted it to happen, which again was another dumb decision on OJ's part.
And I don't know if OJ, you know what? Like I said, I was raised by a very Catholic family, so yeah, I have a belief in God, and I know that you have to have a penance, and I don't know if he had a penance on his deathbed or not, but I think a person really needs to do a penance and a search in their heart. So I wonder if he ever told anybody if he came clean or not. But
I can't believe he lied about having cancer.
Yeah. No, yeah. Okay.
Singer. Lied about everything. Chad's a well-known liar. That's kind of part of the fun, Kato. Chad,
no. You guys are great.
In this world, Chad's he's not as big a liar as OJ, but he's well known for his lying abilities.
I'm just glad Chad's healthy.
Kato, with your status as America's favorite house guest in the 90s, did the thought ever cross your mind that you could potentially have to stay at OJ's new residence during the trial?
No, I left immediately. Is that the question? No, no. Finally, I can afford my own couch, but it's yeah, this is something I never wanted to.
Furious, don't try to stump OJ. Let's keep Kato, let's try to keep the questions pretty straightforward. Furious he's great, but we don't have time to stump him.
Yeah.
Kato, Artie Lang claims you and Norm MacDonald used to be best friends until you had a falling out. Norm refused to elaborate. What happened?
People said that Norm was, I got Norm into basketball, and it was just him getting busy, me getting busy. And I think, it's sort of like Bill Maher was one of my closest friends. We hung out every weekend, but obviously people get busy and you stop seeing them. But that's really about it. I don't know.
Was Bill Maher using you to get hot women?
No. We had different taste. And when we went out, we just did stuff that was hysterical. And, we would hang out at the Sunset Marquee, and that's where the Invisible Hollywood was at their whiskey bar, which was run by Randy Gerber, who's a great guy, married to Cindy Crawford, and now partners with George Clooney and Casa Amigos, or I think they sold it. Yeah, but that's that Invisible Hollywood. So I guess the Norm story was one time, if you want to hear a complete Norm stories, we went golfing at the Trump's Club in Palo Verdes, or where Palisades. It's somewhere by Long Beach. Beautiful club. And he's very competitive, and I was teamed up with someone else. But anyways, we're destroying him. We're up by 9 or 8 strokes, but I'll never forget. He started with probably 10 clubs in his bag, and he only left with a putter. He would throw
Norm.
He would throw the club. If he hit someone with one of the clubs when he swung it, they'd be dead. And I'm not joking. He'd throw it. He'd be so mad. So he left with just a putter.
Okay, but Artie,
it's incredibly like scary. I mean full velocity. And then when the marshal came by, the golf marshal would come by in a cart. I said, we're going to get kicked off here. But the marshal came by and said, hey, Kato, can I have an autograph? So I had to rub that. I'm not joking.
And he didn't ask Norm for an autograph?
No, I think Norm has been there before. Who knows?
Oh, Norm's probably mad about that too.
That's the golf thing when I got into basketball. And he started out, he couldn't do anything, and then he got better. And
when did he start gambling? Did he start gambling on basketball because of you?
No, but I went to some gambling stories too. He was very into gambling, like for lots of basketball games, and been to Vegas a few times. But huge losses.
Yeah.
And
Okay,
then that's it.
Artie Lang said that when they were doing taping the Norm show, I guess that was the ABC Norm show. He said you were like on set a lot because, and then you ended up getting on the show. So I don't, Artie likes to embellish stories. So do you remember what happened? Like,
no, I never asked for anything. He wrote me in as the guy who would be the water delivery guy. I did 2 of those episodes delivering water with the big sparkly spot. And that's it. No, I didn't care. And Artie and I have a connection because back in the day in the 90s, another trivia question is I was the first ever to host the Mad TV.
Right. I read that.
That's where I met Artie, and Artie's great. And yeah, I hope he likes me. I have no.
Don't worry about it. You're Artie. I don't even. I can't get in all.
I love this one, Kato. You thought about changing your name to Karen to match that haircut. I thought the hair looked pretty good today.
Looks great.
Looks amazing. We just missed the old hair. That's it.
Yeah.
Kato, was Louis Anderson nice to you and treated you to some ice cream on man?
That's the Kato I know.
There it is.
Louis Anderson. Yeah, Louis was great. Louis was great with his manager. He, at the time, Louis and I were going to do a tour, and I was doing these small clubs, and
so you did stand up.
Yeah, I've done stand up. My job for the last 4.5 years, I was traveling as the MC for Wizard World. Wizard World is the world's largest Comic-Con. So I traveled with all the actors from DC comic movies, and Jason Momoa's Aquaman, and all the DC and Marvel people. And I was a good friend of Stan Lee. I mean, enough to go to dinner with Stan. And what we did is we had an entertainment stage. And for the first 4 years, we'd be in Chicago, Philadelphia. And you guys been to Comic-Con before, right? This is the largest traveling one. 50 to 70,000 people would come during the weekend to 100,000. So I had this entertainment stage where it'd be from 9 o'clock until 8 o'clock at night, where the best of the city it was like America's Got Talent. And I was the MC bringing that in. So COVID happened, and then that job we closed until it went back up this last year.
Okay, so, but what year was it with Louis Anderson?
Louis was like 95, 96.
Wow.
Yeah. So we just did small clubs, and then a trial started up for the civil trial 2 years later. But yeah, I've done hosting comedy clubs, quite often.
But did Louis know you before the OJ stuff?
No.
Oh, so he grabbed you from that.
Grabbed me from the OJ stuff, and I became friends with the guy Ed Driscoll, one of his writers, who you guys I'm sure know. And
how about Bob Saget? Did you meet him?
Yeah, Bob, met him quite a few times.
Everybody has a picture of Bob Saget. Everybody.
But I don't think I have a picture though. Damn it. But Bob and Dave Coulier, I'd be friends with Dave on his podcast. Once again, you can't really say friends. I mean, I hope I'm your friends, but we're not going to probably hang unless you're here.
Dirty Deeds. Kato, regarding other famous murderers aside from Lyle and Eric, are you familiar with the third Melendez brother, John?
Oh, come on.
They're talking about Stuttering John.
I know that, John. I was going to say something about he's with Jay Leno. And
yes. Do you know Stuttering John?
Yeah, I met John a few times. He's doing comedy.
From the Tonight Show?
Yeah. I mean, I know him from the Tonight Show. I mean, I did that Jay Leno when he was the host. I was on that. I think John was John there from day one?
No, he went there in like 2005.
Okay, no, he was there before. So yeah, but I met John.
Wait, yeah, I was thinking about that. So Leno was in charge of the Tonight Show. He was hosting the Tonight Show during the OJ stuff. So did he have you on a couple of times like that to I mean, because you would have been a great guest, You know
what? It was I like Jay a lot, but how it was handled, it was just it didn't go well, and that was the show they call the Vault Show that'll never be seen again, which is kind of cool too.
Why? Because what did they try to do? Make jokes?
Because I guess so many people wrote in or something. I understand, and then the next day he went on the Today Show and kind of threw me under the bus, which was devastating. But I was like, okay.
What happened? What happened?
Used to it. I guess me being on the show was a negative to NBC. Yeah. So I think people called and said, "Why'd you have that piece of shit on?" or something.
Oh, during the trial, after the trial?
Yeah, it was probably right. Probably happened.
So white people were
at the
so
trial,
mad.
I think I was just testified. I'm already done. I'm done with my role.
But he's not found not guilty yet.
You know, I have to go back. I know I
Okay.
don't know the exact date, but yeah, it was definitely in the 90s. And then but I had a chance to do the Letterman show, which I liked so much better, to go out there, and it was a funny bit that he wanted to do these bits, and I was like, yes, I want to do it. But Bill Maher said do the show because he was going to be on the same time, so I have a loyalty to Bill, and I did that. But the Letterman bit was this ongoing bit where the electricity, the lights would flash on and off in the studio, like what's going on here while he's doing his monologue, and it was a cut to me blow drying my hair. So I always thought,
well, and so there's so many different ways to go with that, because I mean,
oh yeah, no, it was a whole running bit. I was like, this is kind of funny, because Letterman did a whole thing when I was on another show where it was on for like at least the month when he did this running bit with me. So
no, but just the thought of you like going to McDonald's, you're eating, gabbing on the phone, and we're like, OJ's murdering everybody, and you're like oblivious. You're like oblivious to it. I mean, it's so insane. Just the timeline is so fucking insane. You know, like he's coming and going. You're just eating your chicken nuggets or whatever you ordered, and it's.
No, I'll tell you, and I never, first of all, double homicide's never been funny to me. It's not funny, but I'll tell you, because of the timeline that happened back then, my entire life since that time, I record when I'm out where I am at a certain time. If I'm before I got married, and I still do it, but if I was out with someone, I said, okay, I dropped you off at this time. I would write the song that was on the radio and the station that was on. Wow. I would see a car, and I'm not kidding you. I lived that way. I still do it, but I was, for the first 25 years, I never would miss if I did something where I'm like, okay, I got to remember this, that I wanted to make sure I always had, I guess, like a timeline of everything I did.
Well,
and
now
honestly, you can't even understand what it's like to live like that.
Now it's obviously easier with the cell phone, because the cops can track you from where your cell phone is. But back then it was crazy, I mean, even when Marsha Clark was asking you questions, you're like, so then you got back from McDonald's, and she's like, what time was it? And you're like, 9:25 or 9:26. I was like, which is it? Like, does it matter which, if it's 9:25 or 9:26? It's fucking insane.
That's why those calls I made, they got the records of everything of the calls I made from inside my guest house.
Kato, I don't want to beat you over the head with this, but like, what was the conversation when you and OJ were having, like going to McDonald's? Was it you guys just quiet? Or
did he seem preoccupied?
That was one of the questions I was asked, and it was one of those things that I could feel he didn't want to. He was totally quiet, and that was, how you're a person that's trying to start a conversation. It's like the other person, basically, you could feel they want to say, I don't want to talk, without him saying that.
Right.
Well, I was pretty much quiet, and I had no idea. I thought he's pissed because I invited myself.
Right.
I had no idea where we're going, and the whole time I felt bad. Like, boy, he doesn't want me in this car. And
did you blame yourself?
Well, actually,
I'm kidding. Like, you put him in such a bad mood, he committed a double murder.
I mentioned that to Kim Goldman on her podcast, that regarding timelines and that, and she says, don't ever think like that. So like I said, you guys, who knows? I invited myself. I think that he came to my room to set up an alibi, and he didn't think that I would say, hey, can I get something to eat with you? And that was
but you guys never went.
Everything's hindsight, Kevin.
But you never went out to eat together, right?
No, I mean, I went out with them with the kids, and
no, but just you and him. You never.
Yeah.
Never. Now, was the radio on in the car, or was it just silent?
Silent.
And did you go through drive-through?
Drive-through.
Was he chatty with the drive-through lady?
No, it's pretty much an order. Like, I don't eat meat, so I just got a chicken sandwich.
Wow.
And that's it. My chicken sandwich.
Dom DeLuise, this is not the real Dom DeLuise. Yeah, you think OJ would have killed you too if you made a pass at Nicole?
Well, I know that in hindsight that he had me, like I said, he had private eyes when I lived at Gretna Green. Check out who I was. I think that I don't.
Did Nicole confide in you about how jealous OJ was?
She said certain times that OJ was jealous. I didn't know them in 1989, and I think those are the pictures of her bruises and that he beat her. So I didn't know them, but I knew of those pictures and that. And in 1993 is when I moved in Nicole, and then 93 December. Well, actually, the beginning of 94. So I met her in 93, becoming into 94.
But you had seen the pictures before you met her?
No. I just saw it because they always ran them then on TV during this.
Right.
So I never saw them. I only saw them during the trial of hindsight, everything in hindsight of what happened. So the only time that I saw it and what I didn't even see the violence was the doors that you talked about earlier. I wasn't there, but I know he broke down the doors because I had to hammer them to help her, repair the doors.
Oh, before you got there, that happened.
Yeah, that was happening. She was on the cone, and then when I got there, he had gone. And then the police were talking to her, and then they asked who I was, and she said, "That's Kato. He lives there." And then we hammered these doors shut.
So she was waiting for you to show up to finish the job with the door.
No, I just came home from a casting from a film.
Oh, it happened while you were there.
No, he had broke doors down when I wasn't there. I came after the fact that he wasn't there.
No, I'm saying, were you living there when he broke the doors?
In Gretna Green, I was living there, but wasn't there when it happened.
Wow.
Yeah. At the, I was.
And did she tell you why the doors are broken?
She said they had some kind of fight, so I don't know. She was still talking to the cops, and that was the 911 call, and I think they said something.
Oh, that was the one where he's screaming, and that you can hear him screaming in the background.
Yeah.
Wow.
Speaking of casting, I have a question for Kevin. Did you consider casting Kato in your NBC pilot '1 Son?
If I would have remembered, I would have definitely cast him.
God, I went to an acting academy, Kevin. Damn it.
Are you a member of the Actors Guild and everything, SAG and AFTRA?
Yeah, over 40 years, man. I haven't had that. Come on.
That's why you just listen, man. Yeah, listen. You really shouldn't make jokes about this, but when I I just went to YouTube, Kato Kaelin, blah blah blah, and I saw a shorter clip, but then I found the clip of when they first bring you to the witness stand, and just the fact that the trials in Los Angeles, and you got that perfect hair. I was like, it couldn't have been scripted any better. I mean, it was just perfect casting, for a Hollywood trial.
Well, and you mentioned that, and like I told you guys, it was the first time ever that I was ever in a courtroom. So you see me, my first day I walk in, I'm trying to look around, like, where do I swear in?
They said, "Are you nervous?" She asked if you're nervous. You go, "No, I'm excited." And you're like, "Oh, I'm a little nervous, but I'm excited." So people chuckled when you said you're excited to be there. Yeah. Your first response. I mean, it must have been fucking exciting. It's the fucking trial of the century, and now you're right in the middle of it.
Yeah, and it was like I said, the thing about the OJ case, is there closure? He's dead. But is there closure for the family? Absolutely not. They're never going to forget that. But the thing is that the trial will always go on, because every trial that's happened after, it's like the template. Everybody looks back at that one, and any trial that comes up, I still get calls from any trial to get my opinion. And it's like, oh, wow, I don't want to be attached to all these calls.
You're not a legal scholar.
Exactly, or for the witness. But you know what? I wrote a show, and I got an option. We're going to see what happens with it. And it is a true crime, which is 76% of people in America watch true crime. It's the hottest genre. And the show that I have it's really wonderful. I think it's gonna make it on. And
who'd you sell it to?
Well, I sold to a production company in New York called Jupiter, and Jupiter is probably the #1 true crime. They have the most hours of true crime on Oxygen ID. They've got John Walsh show. They got Detective Kenya. They've got Snap. They've got everything. So we shot this thing, and we are in the. I can't mention with an NDA of who we're talking to, but yeah, things look.
Well, it should be perfect, like John Walsh was for the
America
His son
America's
Adam.
Most Wanted.
Yeah, because he was emotionally involved with it. Everybody knew him from the case when his son was kidnapped.
Yeah, and my shows, I can tell you the name of the show. It's called Wrong Place, Wrong Time.
Well, that's perfect for you.
Actually.
Furious. Kato, were you pissed that OJ borrowed your gloves that night?
Oh, come on.
First of all, did OJ, like, he didn't borrow your clothes or anything? Like, you guys weren't like besties like gals do when they share each other's clothes?
No. By the way, his hands are like this big.
Yeah.
Right. Gigantic.
Hey,
like,
Kevin, Chinless has some really big numbers and good questions. Actually.
All right, let me go. Let me skip ahead then. Sorry.
Yeah, he skips the line. But before, there you go.
Yeah, this is a good question. I was actually thinking about that earlier. Kato, do you have any contact with Simpson's kids or Jenner's Kardashians?
No, I have absolutely no contact at all. Tanya Brown, Nicole's sister, sometimes on Facebook will have a message. Very few, but contact is sometimes a message to her. I have no contact with the kids. I don't know what they're doing. But the reason I think, and for everybody, it's I myself is I hate the past. I really do what the past is, and there's nothing I can do to change it, but I can do everything to make like this moment in the future better and brighter. So I don't I think it's better for them not to have contact. And I saw Kris Kardashian, and I didn't know her feelings towards me when I saw her, and I saw her at the funeral. I was friends of Alan Thicke. So when Alan passed away, who was one of the greatest guys ever, she came up to me. Couldn't have been any, I guess, kinder to me. And that's the last time I saw a Kardashian.
Chinless, you sent it 3 times, so I appreciate it. If you want a kickback, Kato, do you still have contact with Simpson's kid or his Kardashian? He sent it 3 times.
Yeah, he was trying to get the question on. That's why I pushed.
I know. I apologize. I was, to be fair to me, Chinless, I was scanning ahead, and then I lost track, and so my bad.
Did I answer it for Chinless?
You nailed it.
I mean, I guess you don't have contact with them, but do you know how they're doing? Like OJ's kids, are they in the public eye at all?
No, you know what? That's a great question. I'd like to know what Cindy and Justin, because that's who when I was in Gretna Green and Rockingham,
right.
That's who really,
right.
They're, first of all, beautiful kids, hilarious. So I always thought, what's going on with those two? And
right.
I don't know. I know back in the day, one time Sydney Older was on a 911 call herself when they were living in Florida. So I don't know, but my heart goes out to them. They're beautiful kids.
Yeah, they say kids are resilient, but I don't know if any kids are that resilient. I mean, that's pretty goddamn traumatizing.
Yeah, who would have guessed what happened to that Kardashian family from back then? I mean, it just went into a crazy direction.
Yeah, you know what? A billionaire family, good for them. They when I met them, and like I said, they were young kids. You could see that they were going to be ultra successful. I think they were being groomed for success business wise. They they knew how they were beautiful people, and look at them. So it all kind of worked out.
Yeah.
Do you think OJ is the father of the tall one? I forget her name.
People have been writing about that. That is OJ the father of Chloe and all that. I don't think so. I don't think so at all.
Yeah.
Chinless, thank you, and I apologize for the delay. It really is unacceptable, but I was scanning ahead. I just didn't see these.
Hey, here's a question.
Yeah, this is my picture of my dad, Kato. This is not him sending a super chat, but Daniel Brennan, father of Kevin Brennan. But that's actually actual. This is how crazy the internet is. People just get a picture of my dad and send me super chats as my dead dad. I'm one of 10. My dad had 10 kids. I'm one of 10.
So your dad's passed away?
Yeah, and my dad was one of 12, and I'm one of 10. So my dad was one of 12.
Well, Brennan's a town in Ireland, the town of Brennan. But so we're from seven, but my mom came from 14.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. My dad was one of 12, and then he was the only one who had a really big family of his family. But yeah,
Yeah.
to be one, like I'm one of 10, that for me to have 10 kids, I should be in a fucking mental hospital.
Yeah,
you know what I
and
mean?
when my grandma that had 14 kids, I said, "Why didn't you go for 15?" And she said that she wanted to have a career too. So it was kind of weird.
Yeah.
So I just,
He's doing bits, everybody. That's a good one, though. I want to have
come
a
on.
career.
Jesus Christ, Kevin, give me a break. I'm good.
That's a good one. I might steal that.
No,
Okay, okay. When you know, they all say, "Listen, I'm sorry about the super chats. I know you know, listen, you get a big star, you're gonna get a lot of super chats. We're gonna get behind." But when you hung out with Norm, did Norm come off more as like goofy or hilarious? Was he more goofy with you, or because Norm's both? You know, I've worked with Norm, so Norm's hilarious, but also goofy. So how did he come off? How was he with you?
I think probably both. You know, I was when he did Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. I was the guy in the background.
Right, I saw that. That was funny too.
Guy. So you know,
and then Norm goes to Regis. He goes, "Hey," he goes, "Regis, you know, I like gals." So I guess people were saying that you and Norm were a couple, or Norm was afraid everyone was going to think you're a couple because you're a handsome guy. You know,
no, not a couple. It was very, you know, Norm. He had this dry sense of humor.
Yeah, but it was a funny thing. It played on TV, especially a show like that where it's a serious show.
Oh yeah, you know what? 100% true in that stuff. So yeah, Regis.
But was he goofy? Was he goofy with you, or was he trying to be? Was he pretty normal?
I think pretty normal. I mean, he had goofy things, but I think basically it was all about sports. And I'm a sport nut, and he was sport. I really was.
Right.
I played in a basketball league and got him in there.
But did you gamble or no?
No.
Yeah,
I mean, I played cards, a lot of poker.
Oh,
but
yeah,
I don't do the high stakes or anything. I don't have money's too precious.
Did you play in that game with Sam Simon and Norm?
No, but I knew Sam also. I knew Sam. You know, an interesting story, you guys, that when I moved out of Rockingham, I remember I mentioned that I worked out this club called the Boulevard where everybody was at.
Right.
So one of my friends that I became great friend with after about 3 months of hanging out was a guy named Kevin Curran. Kevin was the one of the head writers and producer of The Simpsons. So I went from one Simpson to the writer of a Simpson show. So I lived with Kevin in his place in Hollywood. So Kevin was also the creator, he did the show Unhappily Ever After.
Right. With Bobcat Goldthwait?
Yep. And then I did the other one. Kevin did Married with Children. And we became very good friends.
But how'd you meet up with him?
Well, because we would go to the same health club. And then we started going out and hanging out as friends. And then Kevin married. Now, Kevin and I, when I lived at the house that we had up in the hills, I used to throw a poker party. And it was the talk of the town. It was one of the most fun party. We had 4 different tables for people that knew how to play, that didn't. But it would be once a month. And it was Sam would be there, George Meyer from The Simpsons. Everybody would show up to this poker party. And
Sarah Silverman, because she played poker.
I think Sarah might have been there once or twice. But
how about that guy from Mad Men? He used to play poker too.
No, John Hamm, no. At least I don't know, because he wasn't famous back then.
Yeah, he wasn't famous yet.
But we did have everybody, and but the Kevin ended up getting married to Helen Fielding, who was our friend to be there. Helen wrote Bridget Jones' Diary 1 and 2, and then they had kids. And then when they got married, I moved out.
What year was that?
So that had to be 99. You know what? That's it. I gotta look at some of my notes that I have with Kevin. So it kind of came like probably in 2000. No, it actually happened like in 99, 2000, 2003, like that whole span.
Yeah.
So I guess one thing we can take from this is you're a good house guest, because a lot of people liked having you around.
Yeah, well, I paid at Kevin's house, but yeah, we had a.
No, but I mean, some people just like to. Some people are just good to have around.
You know what? And I swear by this. And once again, you guys, this is not bragging. This is being humble. I'm not. I don't do drugs. I rarely drink, but I'm really positive, and I think people like that, and I think they gravitate towards that. And I always want to make someone better than what they are, and I've been that way my entire life of pretty just, hey, look at, I know what my parents passing away. I always said, life is like a semester on earth. It's like college. So I'm grabbing by the balls, man. And I go balls out and I live every day to have.
Well, you're a positive influence. So people like having you around.
I think so. And that's not being cocky. That's just truth.
So you're like the opposite of Kevin Brennan.
I think Kevin, I think moving in with Kevin, I think he'd have a good time.
I'll take you right now. My wife would love you. She's sick of me. We need some positive energy in this goddamn house. And
I married someone. I married a beautiful woman who's got she's positive energy from.
You just got married?
Yeah, congratulations! I saw that in the tabloids.
Yeah. It's
Wait, how'd you just get married? Is your first?
No. It's been over. We're in our second year coming up.
Yeah, so. But you're like newlyweds, and you're not a young guy. So
yeah, she's a young girl. She's totally. The Chinese love wisdom, so I got that going with myself.
Oh,
so,
I say.
Yeah, I always tell people.
But there's your first marriage?
Yes. My second marriage. I had my first marriage when I was in college. Very young.
Wow.
How come it didn't work out?
Daniel Brennan, father of Kevin Brennan. Kato, we all know OJ had a huge hog, but did Norm MacDonald have a huge hog? That's what Jim Downey says. And Jim Downey says that. I never saw that quote.
I met Jim Downey at the house a few times. I love him.
Jim Downey says that.
Kato, I don't think Norm even had a motorcycle. Next question.
Kato,
now we're all over the place with these.
Kato, do you know Kevin's brother Neil in real life?
Yeah, I actually met Neil.
Oh God damn it!
No, I mean I met him at a comedy club. And,
okay.
I think I actually went up before him. If I remember,
what year?
This has got to be like 10 years ago.
Wow.
And it was. I think he picked on me a little bit, which is fine. I'm pretty Teflon. People always. Anytime, the hardest part about doing anything in LA is like, if I do and if I get laughs and all that, people will just. The next comic will definitely go, fucking Kato Kaelin's here. Look at my career. It fucking sucks. And there's nothing I can do about it. I just got to go with the flow. Because I've hosted quite a few things and I have the 10 minutes or whatever. But my whole thing is hosting. I love hosting and being able to bring on the next guy.
Yeah. Plus you'll be a good host anyway, because you got positive energy. That's what you need from a host.
Yeah. And I'm, like I said, I just wrote a show. I'm hosting it. And I just think, I think this is going to be a lot of things are going to happen this next like 3 or 4 months, especially into the summer.
Kato, have you ever stolen credit cards from war heroes or harassed women? What are your thoughts on these despicable acts?
Yeah, they're despicable. How can anybody do that? They are just despicable. And
somebody clip this. Somebody clip this. Chad allegedly steals credit cards from
no.
So Kevin, when you're raising your phone up, are you taking pictures of what their questions are?
Yeah.
No, I'm taking pictures because I got a lot of super chats and I lose track of them. Sometimes I want to use them as to go back to, and it's easier to take a picture than to look back on the show.
Wow, I like it. I like this whole thing you got going on. It's like we're doing the show out of like a Walmart. People are like the prices are going up and down.
But it's like they're callers, but the callers are giving.
Yeah, it's like a sports talk show where they call in, but they don't call in. They send super chats, and then so like this, I would have forgot about I don't know anything about the Fred Stiller situation, but I probably would have. I made a note about Fred Stiller, but I would have forgotten it without the super chat. So that's why it comes in handy too.
Oh, I love Fred. I just saw Fred in December in where I live at a Christmas party. I love Fred.
But supposedly there was bad blood between you and Fred.
I don't know what's good. Everybody talk about bad blood. I don't know. I don't think so.
People said I should have.
It's so funny how they have like these stories about bad blood. I'm like, no, I have zero grudges. So
no, people said I should have. People said I should have tried to get you on with Fred Stoller, but I didn't want any bad blood, so I didn't know the situation. But there's no bad blood.
I think Fred's great. It's super talented. Fred's been around, and
yeah, Fred is great.
I got a story. Fred and I hosted a show together. This is a great one. So I used to do comedy development over at the old National Lampoon. I had a college show.
That's where I met you.
Chad. That's right. And I did the not Dorm Days, but I did that film Dorm Days, where I did the all the loops would go in every college. I can't
Yeah.
even think of the show, but we did the college network.
I did a show with Sam Tripoli, and I'd always see you at the.
Oh,
the
Sam, I
building.
like Sam too. So, anyways, we did National Lampoon Strip Poker Show, a poker down in the Caribbean at those hedonistic one or two what are they called? Those clubs. But we did at the one that's more legit. But our host was me, Fred, and Olivia Munn. How's that?
Wow.
And
That's quite a lineup.
Olivia dated Aaron Rodgers for a while. She was in those Marvel or DC comic movies of I forgot her character name. But what a small world. That show it got an Entertainment Tonight. Entertainment Weekly did an article, said that it gave us a D-, but they gave me an A. Do you love it?
There you go.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
So,
shit on the show and say nice things about me. I say that about every show I'm on.
I would love to do a show again, you guys. Is that I don't know if we wrap. I'm going to go, or do is there a time?
Yeah, you can't go. What do you mean?
Am I staying the night?
You're sleeping over.
Dude, I can't. Tell your wife I want chicken.
No, if you gotta go, you gotta go. But let's try to read some more super chats because most of them are addressed to you. Beautiful Kato, how much did you love making fun of Fred Stoller with Norm? Where do you address that? So OJ feeds you and gives you a room, and you couldn't do OJ a solid. Ungrateful.
Oh, come on.
No, stay true. No, I'm about truth.
Yeah, he wanted you to lie about the thing.
Yeah,
Kato,
do all the Kato questions so he can roll out.
Kato, who did the Juice hate more, Marcus Allen or Bruce Jenner?
Boy, that's a great question. I don't, I think that he probably was Bruce, because I don't know that he and Marcus had a big fallout or not. So I think it'd probably be Bruce Jenner.
I thought he hated Marcus because he was sleeping with Nicole.
Yeah, but they still were friends, I think. So I don't know how that worked out. So I don't know. That's
why he killed Nicole, allegedly, was because of the Marcus Allen connection.
No, I don't know that at all.
But why was he mad at Bruce Jenner?
Well, I'm only saying it because of Bruce's Caitlyn Jenner now, and said good riddance. So something happened.
Oh, well, he killed Nicole. Kato, you obviously don't think murder is right, but what about stealing from multiple elderly veterans during a Silver Sneakers program?
Terrible.
Oh, that's inside.
Respect the veterans, please.
Respect the veterans. Clip that. Kato, did Norm ever read aloud to you alone after inviting you up to his condo asking for a podcast?
Oh, they talking because Norm read to Kevin Brennan at his apartment.
Norm, my brother lived in Venice, and Norm lived in Venice, whatever. And so I wrote on Norm's sports show for Comedy Central. So one time Lori Jo couldn't give Norm a ride home, so she asked me if I could give him a ride home. So it was a Friday. I give him a ride home, and Norm goes, "You want to come up?" And there's never any parking in Venice or whatever. So I go, "No, there's nowhere to park." He goes, "No, there's a spot right there." I'm like, "God damn it!" So then Norm invites me up, and no, first he goes, "Just come up." He goes, "I'm not going to try to fuck you or anything." So then he invites me up. It's just me and the cats and him. And he starts reading from this fucking book. He goes, "You like this author?" I don't even know who it is. He goes, "You like this?" And then he's reading to me. And I'm like, is he going to try to fuck me? Like, he is my boss. I guess I gotta fuck him if he wants to. Then Lori Jo calls. She goes, "Oh, you guys made it back safe?" And we're like, "Yeah, we made it back safe." So then the next day, Monday, we go back to work, and we're in the writer's room. Norm walks in. He goes, "Yeah, Brennan gives me a ride home." Then he says, "Can I come up?" And I'm thinking, Brennan wants to fuck me. I'm like, well, that's not exactly how it went, but close enough. Is OJ Simpson a father?
Boy, it's like you had to testify right there. Who's right? He said.
No, I know, but everyone's going to believe Norm because he's the boss.
Yeah.
That's how.
Hey, how that show? How long was that show on?
13 episodes or whatever.
Let me ask you, Kevin. Why only one? Is because it was a good show. Why did they didn't pick it up?
The ratings weren't good. We went on after what time? I think it was on 10:30. I think it was on before the Daily Show. I don't know. It was kind of I think it was once a week. It it was just kind of, yeah. I mean, Norm was good, but the ratings weren't good. Dom DeLuise again, is O.J. Simpson a father of the Kardashian girl, the overweight, tall, homely one who kind of looks like she looks like O.J. I never thought she looked like O.J.
That's the one. I think he's thinking about Chloe, but Chloe's definitely not overweight. I think she's doing some kind of fitness spot.
Yeah.
And by the way, for my segue, on your show, if you could also mention, I do have a podcast called 1 Degree of Scandalous. Chad, you saw it. I'd love people to actually go to my show also on YouTube
and hit subscribe.
It's free to subscribe.
1 Degree of Scandalous.
Yeah, it's really doing wonderful. It's a great show.
It's on YouTube,
YouTube, Spotify, but we want YouTube subscriptions.
You're also real active on Instagram. You got funny videos, so follow them on Instagram. What's your handle? It's
Kato_Kaelin. That's Kaelin. Kato_Kaelin. And because of my travels, I do these crazy airport stories, and I think everybody kind of relates to it, of people going from gate to gate, and I make it seem like it's a horse race of certain characters of how they would go off a plane to the next gate, and they go, oh, the gate's open, there it's off. It's a Pizza Hut, followed by a lady.
You do it from the airport?
Yeah, I do it while I'm there. I just film them all. I have them running by. I do a whole bit of stuff at the airport.
He's doing commentary on like people at the airport. It's pretty funny.
Can people see you somewhere? Like, are you still doing gigs?
It looks like I'm talking into my phone like a regular call. So I kind of got the know how to disguise it now a little bit. But a lot of people know I've been at the airport. People go, I want to be in one of your videos. So I know it's kind of catching on.
No, I'm saying, where are you going on the airport? Are you doing live performances? Can people find you anywhere?
Yeah, I'll be waiting on this call to go to Salem to do a Comic-Con in Salem, Massachusetts.
Okay.
In end of April for that weekend, April 20th, this weekend coming up. And I'm also involved in something that you guys would absolutely love. It's called Ice Wars. If you go to Instagram, it's called Ice is War. It's no sticks, no pucks, just fist. It's actual fights on ice. We've done three pay-per-views. They've done great. Now we're in negotiations with someone.
It's your show or you're hosting it?
I do Cato's Corner. I'm in the stands doing the I'm in the no, it
sounds amazing.
I'm gonna send a clip. It's later on. It's amazing. Ice is War. You can go on your Instagram right now. These guys are all out, knocking each other out. Blood everywhere.
They're all former hockey players?
Former hockey and up-and-coming hockey players.
Wow.
But it's because the NHL is trying to get rid of fights, but people want to watch fights.
Right.
So it's a guy named Charlie Nama. He's the inventor of it. I've been his friend. And we're in the process of marketing it, of being bought by a larger corporation. And so I've got that. I host that. And like I said, I'm running the show. We're going to find out what's going on with that. And pretty much on 1 Degree of Scandalous, I come up with kind of what's going on in my life.
All right, give us 10 more minutes, okay, till 6 o'clock our time.
Okay, sure.
I mean, I don't want to hold you forever because you are Kato Kaelin. I appreciate you coming on. I mean, really do. I thought Chad was making the whole thing up that he could get you on the show. I thought.
Yeah, Chad. So we must have been at Lampoon back in was it the office that we're on Sunset?
Yeah, right on Sunset.
Because it started in Westwood where the offices were.
Yeah.
And,
I remember, just to give you an idea, I remember we talked and, it was just really quick. And then I added you on MySpace and you added me right back. And then now then we were Facebook friends. I don't know how that happened, but.
Oh, that's great. I don't even I do pretty much just Instagram and X or Twitter. So.
So then
it's a small world. Sam, by the way, I'm in contact with Sam. I think I've done his podcast once or twice.
Yeah. Then, then I was Swartzen recently and he's like, yeah, I'm friends with Kato.
Are we going to call him?
I already sent a message to him, but he's busy.
Yeah, I don't know.
He's busy. He's always busy at 4 o'clock when I do my show. Isn't that weird? Isn't that weird timing? And like the church lady would say, hey, Lewis Lloyd. Hi, Kato. I've been reading about the murders and trial for many years. At this point, I've got many questions. But anyway, did you ever see OJ abuse Nicole or the aftermath of the abuse?
Well, it's a great question, but I wasn't part of the abuse in '89. They did have arguments a few times, but and Kevin, I'm sure you're the same way. If I ever saw like an argument, I never saw anything violent like hitting, but if they did an argument, I would just say, yeah, I don't know why you guys even fight. Look, you got the beautiful kids, all the
Right.
money in the world. What's going on?
Right.
And like your family, if my mom and dad ever fought, which is rare, I never not saw my dad kiss my mom and make her laugh again.
Wow.
And I just thought, like, I try to say that's so my parents did it, but it's a totally different life in Brentwood. I lived at her place. I lived at his. I had a room with a view, and I just saw how social status is really, it really is everything, and it's really sort of the epitome of Brentwood or just California or Southern California.
Yeah, but they had it. OJ was famous. She was beautiful. They had money.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. They had everything, and there was no reason. But I think sometimes if once again, my opinion, I think OJ wanted his cake and to have more cake.
Yeah.
And that's
how'd you stay a nice, humble guy out there? Because I mean, you're just still like, after all these years, like just a down to earth, good guy. Like everyone loses their mind in LA, including me.
Well, I think, well, thank you. But it's because I'm in contact with my family probably every other day. I still got my best friends that are my buddies from high school and college. And if anybody's going to keep you humble, you'll know it's your buddies. They'll say you're full of shit or whatever, but they'll keep you humble. And I just definitely got the best friends in the world that I talk to them every day. And I think you are, if kind of the birds of a feather flock together. If you're with good people, great things are going to happen. And like bringing it back to OJ, even after the trial, he hung out with nothing but bad people. He kept getting in the news for all negative things.
Right.
It's because you associate with bad's going to happen. And I try to, I know you guys, I hope you don't think I'm cocky with this stuff, but I really believe that you got to hang around good stuff, right?
That's why I'm with Chad.
You funny people, you laugh, and you have everything kind of going on. So
there's another question from Lewis Lloyd. So, did you ever meet Ron? I'm only these are back to back, and this is a $2 one, even two pounds. But did you ever meet Ron Goldman? That's a no, right?
No, I never met Ron, and I didn't know Ron at all. I only know Ron through the Fred and Kim talking about Ron, and a great guy.
Oh yeah, you had Ron's sister on your show, correct?
No, I was on her show.
Oh, okay.
I was on Kim Goldman's show, yeah.
All right. Philly Franks, $50. Thank you. Kato, was OJ wearing the Bruno Mackley shoes that night? Van Natter believed OJ was late because he didn't expect to kill a second person. That's why you heard him. Park was at the front. You agreed. Did you see the way the Bronco was parked that morning with blood?
Well, there's a few of them there, but like Chad said, Detective Tom Lang goes into all these questions right here, and he answers them, and he's on the scene detective. He was the lead detective. I had the guest on that the infamous photo, the Bruno Malley's, Harry Skull Jr. is the photographer. He was on our show, and that picture became huge evidence. And after that picture, the prosecution said, do not print it anywhere they want it. So that is...
But let me cut you off because I know times is of the essence. So he definitely wore the shoes, but then in the show he said, I would never wear those ugly ass shoes. So what was he trying to convince people? Like he didn't, because whoever wore the shoes was the murderer.
Well, I think they found blood prints from that shoe when he said that he was wearing Reeboks. Lang goes into all that. So
on your show.
On our show, he talks about that exact question of, that he would never wear those ugly ass shoes. And then boom, they have a picture to prove that he wore those ugly ass shoes, that he had them. Alan Park, that was the limo driver. It was at the front. Yeah, that's the limo driver who I talked to and asked, did we have an earthquake? So he was there and he saw that there was also a bag that OJ wouldn't let me touch. And I don't remember seeing the Bronco parked the way it was parked. Now, I think the Bronco, though, once again, I'm going back 30 years, was actually parked outside, not in the driveway, which is unusual. And it was parked like someone who was in a rush. And then Lang goes into, on our show, my 1 Degree Scandalous, he goes into the complete dismantling of the Bronco and finding all these clues that were in the Bronco. And the one that I thought was most fascinating that no one even knows about is the light bulb. Light bulb, when you open a door, the lights would go on.
Yeah.
Well, the light bulb was taken out and was under the seat. under the front seat.
Wow.
And Tom said when he was a young detective, they would always take out the light bulb. That's what made him think of, boy, I wonder if the light bulb's there. So no one would see the light go on in a car.
Right.
It's just, honestly, for me, it was like spine tingling. I'm listening to Tom talk, and it's evidence dismissed as his book. And I was like, oh my, why didn't they bring up so much stuff?
Yeah, including the woman who sold her story to hard copy.
Yeah, we're going to have her. I've met her, Jill Shively. She's terrific. She's so believable, but it makes no sense. She sees OJ in the car. She has a memory of the license plate number immediately. And she didn't know who it was. She saw this person, and she didn't really know who OJ Simpson was. She wasn't into sports, but she knew the license and who that person was.
At the airport.
No, this was after the murder.
This is that they're thinking he's driving back from Bundy
because he's speeding.
He almost crashes into her in her VW Bug, and she sees that he goes over the medium. So,
and you never heard about the Van Natter theory about he was late because he didn't expect to kill 2 people.
I think they always had these other theories. So I don't know because there's so much that came out with people's theories. So I don't know who said what, but I think a lot of the things that are probably somewhat truth is that OJ wrote that book, If I Did It.
If I Did It.
And, I think he's that's his confession.
Right.
I think If I Did It it's like, really? He wrote, it's disturbing because it's, since his passing, all these things are coming up on social media, all these interviews he did, and that show with, he's sitting with Judith Regan, the book publisher, I think she is. And he goes in a description, and he kept going into it. You could see he was getting into it, and he'd go, he'd go and go, hypothetical though. It's hypothetical. And if you watch it, I think it overcomes you that you think, oh my God, the guy's full of it. So once again, my opinion, but I think that it sounds like an admission of guilt.
Yeah.
Chad's going to write a similar book about his credit card problems called I Definitely Did It. Well, that'll be for another show. All right, Kato, we're going to let you go. A deal's a deal. It's 6 o'clock, 3 o'clock your time. You gave us a solid hour and a half. You're welcome to come back anytime. I'll send you right after the show's over. I'll send you the arranged thing through Venmo.
Hey, let me say to you guys real quick. I've got the show kind of going on. I would love to break news and call you guys when it happens, even if it's a half hour or so. But I really appreciate your time, and you were more than kind. And if I could just stress that, and I really mean this from my heart. I love humor. I love joking, but I don't joke about like the murders. I think it's the most horrible thing, and that people just remember that it was really about these really young people.
I agree. If
viewers know that, everybody, because I know you got a huge audience. So from my heart, I want people to know that.
And again, I mean, if I made some jokes about it, I understand, but again, you're right. Sometimes you're doing a comedy show, and then you realize you knew these people. I mean, it means much more to you than to a regular person, because I mean, you literally they were very, Nicole especially was a very good friend of yours. So to lose her, I mean, so yeah, you're right. I mean, making jokes about it, that's what usually comics do on podcasts, but with you here, it is kind of inappropriate to make jokes, even though, sometimes you can't help yourself, but yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, I understand. So honestly, from my heart, thanks for having me, Chad. Thanks for contacting me. And sure. I hope the show went great for you guys. It went great for me.
It was great. So come back anytime. You're fantastic. Thank you, Kato.
You got it, you guys. Thank you so much.
All right, bye.
That was fun.
That was crazy.
Hi, Kato. Bye, Kato.
Like people are like, they were always like, so what's this show now?
Yeah. It's not the same without Adam.